Five Nights at Freddy's movie finally came out after 8 years of being an idea that Scott had in his head. And did it live up to the hype and standards everyone had set for it for the past 8 years that Scott had an idea in his head for? Maybe, I don't know, watch the full video.
Just got out from seeing the movie. I could say it's definitely different. Short summary is that Mike Schmidt overdoses on drugs and hallucinates. And then incest.
The way the film starts out is great. They immediately start with this previous security guard escaping Foxy banging on his door, but he's pretty goofy and he acts like a cartoon character who would stick their hands out in this kind of fashion while holding up their overalls. Gorsh, Mickey. Apparently this dude was supposed to be Markiplier originally, and I think it wouldn't have fit because Markiplier is really cool and muscular and velvety and perfect and oily, except for what happens next where this loser gets jumped by Foxy, which could have been Markiplier's first jump scare. That would have made sense. And somehow this guy's 1-2 punched into unconsciousness and dragged into a chair, where a torture device straight out of Saw gives this dude a limited but good amount of leeway for him to figure out that you can loosen the screws on it, but he's too busy panicking and gets his little face sliced up, setting up for later. I think this is a great way to set up the movie because it shows how this guy actually has some brain cells, and instead of staying in the office, does some escape work, and it doesn't directly show the animatronics, leaving some mystery behind. And this brings me to the opening credits. Wait. Who put him in that chair like that? And this brings me to the opening credits, which are pretty much perfect. Zooming in on the Spring Bonnie's face and the la 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 la, with the beat kicking in with the 8-bit minigames showing Spring Bonnie. Oh my god! Oh my god! And oh my god, Foxy is completely fixed, and those kids are lore accurate to later on. Seeing this whole movie in theaters was perfect, even if the crowd only cheered at the cameos.
Hello?
Five Nights at Freddy's? Wait. Not without the CapCut glitch transition. There we go, much better. Cut to Mike snorting. Literally me, Jim Bro sporting, and Abby Pillow fortin'. Mike is a pretty angry fellow, and unlike my expectations, Mike has a pretty good character arc. And as we see here, Mike is currently impatient. Alright, that's belt treatment. A few cuts later, Mike is working as a security guard reading Dream Theory by the film theorists. Tim Allen home grunt sound effect. And sees a kid alone. And Mike is extremely paranoid about it, which makes a lot more sense on a second watch. And then he sees a man rush the kid out. And a few more literal cuts later, Mike is in a career counseling center with no good lasting job experience and desperate for a new money-making method. So then Steve William Raglan Afton meets up with him and interviews him for a few minutes. But one minute detail I noticed first was that he pauses while reading Mike's last name and looks at him, recognizing it from Garrett, Mike's brother who he had previously killed. And if I wasn't so focused on kissing Division all the time, I would have noticed the FNAF 4 box sitting up here. After some discussion, Scooby-Doo says, quote, "You are going to have to work Five Nights at Freddy's." Blood is a brokey. But remember, kids who don't eat their dinners never grow up and stay the same size forever, and you aren't able to go on the adult rides at the amusement park. I mean, at this rate, you ain't going to the amusement park. You on less than 20 bucks an hour with a child in the work. So Mike takes his meds, plays nature noises, and Nebraska. Throughout the movie, Mike has a reoccurring dream where he goes to the place his brother was kidnapped. And this concept is genuinely so cool, with a liminal forest and the repetitive nature adding to the mystery explained pretty well later on. But for now, we see the punk drive away even though Garrett was there like 5 seconds ago. The abductor legit got car percent kidnapping world record, all within a frisbee throw time. The dream then parallels to Mike now screaming for his brother as his alarm clock rings. And the first night at Freddy's officially starts. Here we get introduced to the worst and best part of the movie, the ant subplot. And Doug! I'll talk about this all more later. Mike visits Abby's kindergarten and talks to her teacher while she pulls a literally me moment and sits alone during break. Maybe it's just me, but I hate this teacher's acting. She smiles too much. But other than her needing to be more sad overall in life and having the Expo branded markers on the table because this is a budget film, this scene develops more of Abby's relationship with Mike and adds more context to the crayon drawings in the pizzeria. So phone guy calls up Mike and explains the whole lie of a scheme, and Mike enters the pizzeria where the animatronics are introduced in a pretty cool fashion. So Mike tunes into the television and watches the official Baddington tapes, which are pretty amazing and well done. He explores a bit and sees the animatronics behind stage, and for me this really evoked the feeling of them being lifeless, which is what everyone is supposed to think on night one. Unless you read past the first paragraph in the Steam page. I want to punch Garrett so bad, dude. 5 kids stand alone in a forest, and Mike begs them if they knew what happened to Garrett, and they just sprint away. So Mike rightfully starts chasing Freddy Fazbear in the child flesh, and unlike Leia and Kenobi, is faster than the kid, but right as he's about to catch up, he slips, and whoop-de-doo, these dreams have real-life consequences. I think this is a cool concept in general, but it's just really confusing as to what happens in real life to cause him falling over at an exceptional pace. But it's 6 a.m., so Mike leaves and heads home for the day to Max, the babysitter who he hasn't paid yet, and still he affords to buy food for Abby's lizard.
I know where you live.
Woman, I know where you die. I was waiting for that. Matt Pat is in this movie. His badge says Ness. He works at Sparky's. It's all perfect.
Are you being paid?
Just a theory.
Turns out Max has been spying on Mike to give Aunt Jane information, and this makes Doug very uncomfortable. Doug hasn't blinked yet.
Thanks, Matt Pat.
And this dude just comes out of nowhere suggesting killing Mike, and this makes Doug absolutely furious, not really. So then, they finally decide to go to Freddy's and ruin the place so that in turn, Mike gets fired and runs out of money. This is all so Jane can get the ownership of Abby and make a quick buck. This makes absolutely no logical sense and is just worthless to the movie because you could have just had the teenagers raid the place anyway because that's what teenagers do.
Thanks, Matt Pat.
Doug has still not blinked, so Mike tears down his Alabama poster and prepares to overdose at work. But wait, the little kid's coming with you. I'm glad Scott made a logical decision and instead of having her tag along, had Mike shut down the idea immediately and show the audience that kids are just little annoying losers and abstinence is the way to go. It must have been fun getting this shot though. Night 2 begins. Mike gets his Nature OST and Arkansas poster and begins to hallucinate again. And this time, makes a different choice with the kids in front of him. Begging for help, he decides to chase Foxy this time instead, as they eventually run away again. But this time, Mike gets his ankles crossed, arms sliced, and scared by a ginger. This is the only scene in the movie that made me jump. And Mike wakes up, yet again having his dreams result in real-life occurrences. Foxy haunting him through the door as he shuts off the power because he's about to get a seizure from the spooky flashing lights. This happens a lot throughout the movie. Strange, unnatural things happen off camera and I'm just supposed to play it off as magic. For the most part, I will, but I wish they had a bit more of a plan for what's actually happening in the real world. And also it would have been way cooler if you heard Foxy running and so Mike had to run and shut the door instead of just powering off the power. Hey there, do you remember Vanny from Security Breach? No? She was forgettable and underused? Okay, well here she is. It's the exposition, everybody. Clap your hands. Woohoo!
We love exposition, don't we?
Mike comes to the door and greets the cop, and she notices he's bleeding pretty bad. So they go to get a first aid kit. I guess Foxy gave him a little nip and played nice. Vanessa starts bragging about how she's a certified medical person, and if he ever needs medical help, he should contact her. Remember this for later, by the way. And she explains how she loved the place as a kid. Her official name is Vanessa Shelley, like Shelly from Brawl Stars, and Vanessa from Vanessa. Also, maybe it's just the actor, but she's really weird and can switch emotions really fast and has a really ugly stare. No hate towards the actor, but I'm gonna hate on the actor. She turns on the show stage and Mike gets his mind absolutely flabbergasted by the copyrighted 80s music and the animatronics. But what I've noticed that continues throughout all of this film is that Foxy is the first to appear every time. Think back to the start, the cameras, the It's Me sequence, and he appears out at the stage first too. I don't know, I just wanted to point that out. Another thing that I'm definitely overthinking is that during the stage performance, mostly red is shining on Vanessa's face and mostly blue is shining on Mike, showing good and evil. Superintended, I know. Van Exposition starts telling Mike about all the missing kids, and I just wish she didn't exist. The animatronics shut off, and Mike departs, leaving the goon squad to break in. Also, the kid whose eyes are slightly too far apart, like you adjusted them on the Me slider, is wearing a Midnight Motorist shirt, and his name is also called Carl, like how in a moment's notice he gets his face eaten off by Carl the Cupcake.
Symmetry, my friend.
Hank sees this, and appropriately goes on a screaming sprint around the pizzeria, which which was kind of hilarious. A few bad shots of Bonnie later, and he's dead. The door opens, and this dude jogs down the hallway back to the CCTVs, leaving us to more maybe intentionally funny shots, I'm not sure, of Bonnie and Chica sending the cupcake through the vent, leaving us with a good scene of Foxy running down and killing the dude whose name I forgot.
Jeff.
Oh yeah, his name is Jeff, yeah. And they also used the original FNAF jump scare sound, which fits pretty well. Max is also here too and gets the best reveal to explore. As a kid runs down the hallway, the kid pretty creepily says, "Warmer," which was actually unsettling, and the camera pans towards Freddy. In this situation, what do? A, back off. B, back off. C, back off. Or D, back off. You know which answer Max here bubbled in? E, let's walk up to it, grab a stool, and give Freddy a big old kiss. Abby's chillin' watching Don't Monkey with Monkeys, and Mike shows his badge as she just ignores him. So he gets salty, walks away, and then hears a loud sound as Don't Monkey with the Monkeys parallels Abby pulling out the drawer to find the child custody papers. Dang.
She's mean and smells like cigarettes, jump scare.
You gonna give me away?
Yes, Abs, that's exactly what's happening. Vanessa shows up back at Abby's house and mistakes Abby for Mike's kid. I told you there was incest in this movie.
Incest.
Vanessa is concerned that Freddy's was broken into, and she looks like she's about to cry.
Freaking door.
That's the second time she said frickin' in this movie.
Freaking creepy.
So Mike asks if Vanessa wants to take a walk. Here's the next shot of the movie of them sitting down. The scene is pretty good. The conversation leads to the audience finally learning about what the dream sequences are all about. It's not just about him trying to reimagine the abduction, but him searching for details every single time he revisits the forest in Kansas, and he tries to find any clue in that dream of who took his brother, which I think is a really cool topic for a movie that's about Freddy Fazbear. Five Nights at Freddy's the movie? More like Freddy in Inception. Vanessa warns him to stop sleeping on the job, so she tosses away his medicine. You can't do that, Vanessa. He needs those. Michael tries to call Max to babysit Abby, but she's too busy napping, so he does the most logical thing and leaves Abby at home by herself. Mike brings her on the job. Mike starts cleaning up the establishment like a good boy, and we get this really interesting shot of the animatronics watching Mike from behind the stage, from their perspective, showing nobody can be sure if they're ever truly lifeless. Abby leaves her hiding spot and uh-oh, Mike's sleeping on the job again, so she makes sure to give him a good authentic warning that she's leaving by whispering it adjacent to his snoozing body. Great job, Abby. And uh-oh, Freddy's being turned on by a 10-year-old. Mike is dreaming again, and this time, Cassie says that he'll tell Mike who took his brother. And Mike offers anything. Quick cut, and the kid is gone, leaving his dirt drawing of Springtrap engraved in the dirt. This shot, oh my god. The sound effect that plays, the freaking... It's a sick shot. This causes him to wake up, and by the way, the screams he was hearing in the dreams were in fact not from the dream. Abby is gone, and she is crying for help, except she's not and was just being cutely tickled by the killer robots. Mike is terrified of the animatronics. Actually terrified. He grabs a chair in defense. I feel like the way the robots, the animatronics were done in this movie is just great. They move like robots, they sound like Roblox. The way they move, the way they sound, it all sounds like animatronics. It's really well done. Thank you, Jim Henson. But this shot in particular would have been so much better if the animatronics were surrounding him on all sides instead of being clumped up in one corner as the other 70% of the shot spinning is just not the animatronics. When push comes to shove, Abby has to say goodbye to her mangled corpse friends. So they go home, and that soundtrack kicks in again. As Mike finds out that Abby's friends she has been drawing is the other animatronic dream kids from his nightmares all along. God dang, that's a crispy grilled cheese.
Are they...
Ghosts? Of course. How else could they make the robots move?
That's actually great. And Mike asks her if the animatronics told her anything about the man who took Garrett. And she thinks long and hard, says no, and proceeds to instantly contradict herself by revealing Spring Bonnie was related. Ruin did it better. One or two funny white women doorbell camera shots later, and the Blumhouse licensed 80s music starts up in... When I was watching the scene in theaters, I kind of wasn't thinking about it and thought it was funny and nice, but now that I think about it, does this scene make sense? Yes, but do I like that it makes sense? We get a scene of Mike questioning the spring. We get a scene of Mike questioning the spring locks with this really. We get a scene of Mike. We get a scene of. We get a scene of Mike. We get a scene. We get a scene of Mike questioning the spring locks with this really interesting circus baby looking animatronic.
Actually, it's Ella from 1:35 a.m. The book that was also referenced in Security Breach.
And Mike realizes that this place is extremely dangerous from the spring locks and all the wacky things that are going on. Mike says he tried to ask the animatronics about Garrett, but that they don't like him very much, whereas 5 seconds ago, they were building a table fort with him seeming perfectly fine. Vanessa decides it's time to get really aggressive all of a sudden and tells him to quit the job. 5 minutes earlier, you were building a pillow fort.
The freak is this picture? Why is there a red arrow?
Who the hell are you?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Cut to them partying again. Mike begs Vanessa to keep talking to him, and she tells him he's not listening. No, Vanessa! You're the one who's walking away! If this isn't listening, I don't know what is. Abby decides to play Bonnie's guitar, and Vanessa somehow realizes this will result in fatal burns, and Abby does that. Everything cuts out, an ear-ringing sound effect free download HD fades in. Vanessa helps Abby up, and the night suit of plot armor she was wearing thankfully kept her safe. So they walk all the way back out, and Vanessa blames Mike for taking Abby there. And he questions her on what she's scared of. Back in the supply closet, she did look pretty scared.
I will shoot you.
That escalated quickly. Wait, Vanessa, is that a death threat? Is that what we do here? Do we dabble in death threats? This is a police officer. You have places to be, and not death threats to be making. R15, R run. Abby sees Aunt Jane, and immediately her brain cell and her other brain cell connect. Mike is giving me away. So since Abby was, quote, feeling angry at the moment for real, this was in the movie. This quote was in the movie. She decides to scribble out Mike in all of her drawings. The only thing I find iffy is that no real 10-year-old would understand delinquency or child custody documents. If it was me, I would say like, oh, boring adult papers, and move on. So Mike decides to leave Aunt Jane and Abby at the house because he needs to go to the establishment now to find out what's really going on there. My theater audibly laughed at this scene, but why is it filmed like a cancer medication commercial? We'll never know. So he sits down, plays his nature sounds, and overdoses so he can be drugged out of his mind and returns to Arizona for one last dream. He's now fully realized and talks to his family at the table. The kids show up and tell him what he wants truly on the inside. He wants Garrett. So Golden Freddy does some supervillain tempting, and as a result, wants Abby in return for a dream life with Garrett. Everyone in the dreams wants Mike to let go of Abby, including Garrett, who's... I'm glad he got murdered. Mike starts to snap out of the dream and realizes he's wrong, but he's already agreed. Everyone disappears. Shots cut back from reality to the dream. The animatronics are approaching.
Fight back! Fight back!
They keep repeating her name. Abby.
Abby from
Abby.
FNAF.
Abby. Mike is beaten to the ground and looks up at the sky. The sounds of the real world start to fade in, and the first shot encapsulates how waking up feels. There's not a shot of anything else except Mike's terror kicking in. He has been put in the same saw trap from before. I'm gonna try and keep this copyrighted music in, but I have to talk loudly over this so Jason Blum doesn't sexually assault me. I probably shouldn't have yelled that. This scene is the best in the movie. The quick cuts, the tension, the music, the build-up. The first security guard failed because he started late, but Mike is faster to act on his feet and struggles to loosen the screws. I can feel the stress through the screen, and I had been waiting for the scene the whole movie. I also want to compliment just the idea of Torture Freddy. Good job, Scott, or whoever thought of this. That's pretty cool. Horrified and pumped full of adrenaline, Mike freakishly backs away and bumps into guess who? Sparky. The hoax from FNAF 1 is now canon, but you know what's also canon? Women. Blumhouse allowed multiple mauled corpses that get progressively worse to be shown in their PG-13 kid movie, and hey, I ain't complaining. Mike limp runs away. The effects of the dream have carried over. The door is locked. The ghosts are angry. Abby dislikes Mike, so the animatronics do too, on top of their already disgusted feelings towards him. So Foxy gets his cardio in and just, I don't know what Foxy does. It cuts to black, but oh looky, it's...
Abby.
You could have put more tone into that. even italicized that monotone line in the script. Oh, howdy, Golden Freddy. Silly Jane, she fell asleep. I guess Doug's not the only one not blinking anymore. My theater audibly cheered at this scene. Mike wakes up in a police shed and is completely perplexed on how he got there. And I am too. Stop using magic to explain all this. Movie, I need answers. What did Foxy get up to with Mike? Vanessa saved him apparently, and Mike tells her how they tried to kill him. He rightfully starts raging at her about how they killed Max and other stuff. But to give Vanessa a little credit, Mike, you did say that at the start of the movie.
There are ghost children possessing giant robots.
He's extremely concerned about Abby, and I gotta applaud his performance here.
Abby is in danger!
One click of the like button equals one sucker punch from the animatronic dream kids. Let's get those numbers up. Abby stands outside the restaurant with Golden Freddy. The main theme in a different tone, paralleling what will happen to Abby if this keeps up. I swear to God, there's gonna be some depressed kids wallpaper, and I'm all for it. Abby turns to see Golden Freddy gone, and the music continues through the building. Oh wait, that welcome thing was cool. That's a pretty dirty synth. Whoa. Get Temanite on the Fazbear movie. Vanessa explains William Afton as Abby walks to the rapid drawings. It's not just their goats that are... Goats? Meh! It's not just their ghosts that are inside of those machines. The children are inside the suits. It's not the kids' faults they kill people. He influences them somehow.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Vanessa knows the yellow rabbit will be there somehow. His name is William Afton. And he's my fire and I'm fine with this, and it explains how she knows so much. But the real messed up thing here is in the picture. William gave her Garrett's little plane. Mike takes that personally. The lights turn on, revealing the animatronics, and they get ready for a party. Mike asks Vanessa how he can stop them, and she answers, nothing. They are invincible, and you are helpless on night 5 with a chance of RNG door and light movement. Except I'm just kidding, because people are not stupid in this movie. So Mike and Vanessa arm themselves with tasers so they can lightsaber fight Bonnie the bunny. I know I'm kind of bouncing around with these points, but the lighting here is also pretty sick. This scene is supposed to be creepy, but it's really not. The 80s music should be eerie, but it's not. Mike could have just been smart and maneuvered this room way more secretly and efficiently, and he didn't. You could have been caught so easily. I said you were smart a minute ago. No, never mind. Mike pours some water on the stage and uses it to tase both Freddy and Bonnie to death, which I have heard people complain about because they got killed way too easily. But if you really think about it, they are really just robots, and the characters would have been lessened by the fact that there's such an easy workaround that they're not using. So I am completely okay with it and the direction this movie's trying to take. Chica starts grabbing Abby and puts her in the Eleanor suit, but Mike uses yet again Ninjago lightning to take her out. Well, that looks kind of funny. Abby runs to hug Mike, and he starts getting all clingy when Abby is smart and reminds him, guys, we should probably get going. But Chica's little wind-up cupcake decides that he can teleport across 2 winding hallways to launch himself from the 3rd with an absolute extreme momentum, based on the cement block size being an average 16 inches wide, and using this shot to see the cupcake's momentum as he crosses these bricks in 0.71 seconds, totaling 5.5 feet, we can calculate that the average speed of a median car with a cupcake can travel at 5.3 miles per hour, which is pretty insane. So Mike Lancelot Prince stabs the cupcake with some pretty mid-lightning CGI. But in the meantime, Abby is running, and this shot of Foxy being paralleled with this kid's soul is just really nice, cool shot. I think all the kids' parallels, like in the movie with the Golden Freddy being next to the kid or Freddy luring Max to the back, are just sick additions. So Abby sprints behind the arcade cabinet, but there's Foxy on the loose, slowly walking. I think it would have been sick if Foxy was really fast, running around the place and breaking everything, peering over cabinets and rampaging around instead of slowly walking. It would have been more of his personality and differentiated him a bit more, making him way more relentless than anyone else, but their choice, I guess. At least we get some cool camera angles of Foxy, and where did Abby's legs go? Mike stumbles out of the hallway, leg chewed up and everything, in search of Abby, and giant, metallic, rough footsteps are audibly heard from the welcoming hallway. In spring, Bonnie emerges from the entrance, his theme blasting loudly as he walks into frame, hunched over but confident. Mike uses his taser, but it's nothing but a pinch as Spring Bonnie flicks it away and a Sonic Adventure 2 motion capture stumbles over to Mike and pushes him away. He just looks so clumsy. This reveal is sick in all the wrong and right ways. William has postponed the whole movie just to stumble into the chaos and end up with no build-up in the actual story himself. But for now, Vanessa takes care of Foxy and helps Abby out as Mike tries to get it from the school fight move William just pulled on him. William spits some cheesy lines and just feels like a cartoon villain, not a psychopath killer. Personally, it would have been cooler if he said nothing and walked towards Mike slowly without those loud security breach footsteps.
First I killed your brother, now I killed you.
The only part that makes this a bit less cheesy is the symmetry, my friend. Was that all you got, Scott Cawthon? Is that the best lines you could think of? Look at this. This is real. He's just kicking Mike and stumbles all silly to get his footing back. This is real, by the way. So he reboots all of his teammates, causing all the animatronics to stand back up.
Wake up, children. I have something for you to play with.
You could not have said it worse, Mr. Rafton. He takes out his knife, which he should have done a bit earlier, and boy, this thing looks small in his hands. And Vanessa brought a gun to a knife fight. Will takes his mask off and immediately becomes a bit cooler and starts talking smack to Vanessa with some actual okay lines. And oh my god, she just shot him.
I broke my back.
Now reload, Vanessa. You need to protect yourself. Reload the bullet. The camera pans to the drawings and all the quotes of Spring Bonnie in the movie overlay. They need to make the animatronics remember what happened. But before they can, William runs up to Vanessa and oh my god, you just lost a knife fight with a gun.
You had one job.
That's 2 jobs.
The artists are gonna have a fun time with this one. Abby starts to draw and rips out the old drawings as William runs to get her, but Vanessa grabs his arm and then he stabs her. I actually really like how Steve puts on this face afterwards. He looks regretful or almost confused, but quickly remembers the task at hand and turns around. Abby stabs the drawing and all the lights go crazy. Mike turns the power back on and illuminates the drawings for the animatronics to see. For the kids to see. Abby pulls an 11 and stares at him as the robots surround him. Chica, Foxy, Freddy, Bonnie. The first major chord in the music is played as the animatronics stare at him with a look of disgust and resentment. William spits some villain lines a bit too quickly, but not bad by any means. And then this happens. The cupcake latches on again somehow. How does this cupcake work? Main villain? And William scrambles to take it off, and in the process, the spring locks are stabbed deep into him as he falls to the ground in pain. He grunts in agony and spits the line.
I always come back.
He should have said it more like,
I always come back.
but this is fine too, I guess. My theater inaudibly cheered at this scene. He puts on a helmet and falls to the ground. The animatronics drag William away as Mike, Abby, and Vanessa limp their way out of the Five Nights at Freddy's pizzeria. Remember how Vanessa said that Mike could rely on her for injuries? Well, that's completely flipped on its head here, and I think it's a nice compliment to their connection. And so the movie turns uplifting, and the pizzeria completely falls apart. Cut to black. Yeah, guys, the red eyes from the trailers were not actually meant to be scary, I guess.
Red eyes, red eyes! Oh, no, I got red eyes!
Abby and Mike say some stuff to conclude the movie, but right before the credit, Scott put the scene I was most surprised and gladly so in. Dude, what does that mean? Cassidy watches from the doorway as William writhes in pain. A more distorted theme plays as William shakes and breathes heavily, and Cassidy closes the door. Five Nights at Freddy's movie is over, and the most I can really say is, why? Out of all the scripts he wrote, Scott chose this one. For what reason in particular? Probably because it was a really safe way to go. You know, it's child-friendly, kind of. It's got all the necessary plot points in there. It's got easy exposition, but being advertised as a horror movie, it more came off as a movie with a dark story in it, which I'm fine with.
The games have always been about the story. Any fan of the games will love the movie.
What?
But I think it would have been really cool, or still would be cool, to have a more creative approach for another movie. Maybe like a Groundhog Day type film where the night guard repeats the nights over and over, dying repetitively until he can learn to beat them, just like in the FNAF games. Or a psychological horror film where the whole movie is in one office. I I think those could have been really cool ideas, but I also think I can agree mostly with this comment. Vanessa was unnecessary. The movie had almost no relation to the gameplay loop of the games. A lot of the executions were different, to say the least, but we did also get some nice, good experimented ideas, like the dreams and the parallels, which I thought were really nice. As I mentioned, Aunt Jane is just almost a useless plot point, except for Doug, which still didn't blink, but a lot of this movie does seem to forget about William, making his reveal fall flat because the audience has not seen Matthew since the start. Also, the cupcake is far overused in this movie. Give the actual animatronics more time and not this silly little guy. Another thing is that the characters can be really dumb, like really dumb. There were plenty of references, cool moments, and the homage to the games, and watching this in cinemas was an absolute treat. It's kind of bad. It's not good though. I'm sorry if this video was thrown together really weirdly, but I'm not sure how to shove all these ideas anywhere else anyway. For the most part, I'm just glad that this movie finally exists and that we have an opportunity to expand upon something this special. So thank you guys for watching. Case in point, Mike's mom should have never left to get a towel for an outdoor table. That is outlandish.
I will shoot.
I always come back.